Okay, hi everyone. It is, I guess, Thursday today? No, it's Friday. And I just have something to share with you. And I tried to do this inside, but I just didn't have the right energy. It's kind of a nice day finally, and I thought it's good to just get outside and just, go for a bit of a walk. Granted, you can see all the snow, of course, around me. I'm still surrounded by snow, but it is melting. Like you can see the ground, the road is starting to melt. It's getting shoveled, and it's quite nice out. And so I thought I would just come out now and talk to you about my interesting little experience of going to the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. No, I didn't dream journey. No, I didn't do that. What happened is I had to go to the closest town from here, a place called Orkanger. We had to go in, or more like a small city. Had to go in to do some extra shopping. We had some specific things we had to buy to go to a pet store for my cat. And as I was looking through the town, because I'd never been there before, this was going to be our first visit to it. I just happened to, while I was looking on the map, to just see what else might possibly be there that could be useful to know. And I looked at something called the Norway Building. Like, well, what the hell's the Norway Building? So I clicked into it, and there it was. Oh, wow, that's where it is. So what is this Norway Building that you're seeing here? This particular building was at the 1893 Chicago World Exposition. There are only 3 surviving buildings left in the world. One, I believe, it was a Pabst building that was in one of the exhibits with a cabin or a house, and it's moved to Maine or somewhere on the U.S. East Coast. Another is the building that stayed on site that became the Field Museum for a number of years and is now, an art gallery, or I don't know what it is now. And the third building was this Norway Building. It had stayed in the United States. They moved it to some Norwegian community, and it stayed there for like 100 years. And then somehow, for some reason, they decided to move it back to the place it was originally designed. And I had known about this place. I lived on the other side of Norway for a long while, and I knew it was somewhere on the west coast. I was like, I'd be curious if I ever get out to this area to go see it. But I hadn't paid any attention. I had forgot about where it is, or it just totally slipped my mind that this thing exists and is in Norway. And so there I was. So I went to go see it last week when I went to town. There's no point showing you my personal pictures of it because the sun was glaring in my eyes, so I took really crappy photos of the building. But you can see here, this is the building when it was originally at the Chicago Exposition. Same building, there it is. And it was positioned just down from the manufacturer's building. So if you followed I don't know if I can get a map of this, but if you followed down from the manufacturer's building along the riverfront, you would pass the Norway Building. Would have been like one of the first buildings, country buildings you would hit before going into the area where the country and the states are. So it would have got a lot of traffic, for sure. So in my experience, I went down there. My wife was very unnerved by the experience. Actually, now it's kind of quiet. I'm a little away from the farm. A guy out there's doing some plowing work to get rid of some of the snow. So now I can be out a bit quiet in the woods here in the sun. And my wife was a little unnerved because there were two testing stations out there. So all the people in their super duper suits protecting themselves from whatever they think they're protecting themselves from. So she was a bit unnerved and really wasn't comfortable. But I did my best to just get some time with the building. What I wanted to do was, because in its current state, while it is nice, it's a semi-interesting building. It's a replica of a stave church, an old Norwegian style of church. Nothing more special than that, but then I went and just touched it and just stayed with it and tried to put my consciousness at the time of the Chicago Exposition. What would I feel? And the first thing I felt was an incredible excitement, and not an excitement because I was having the experience now. It was the excitement coming from the building, coming from the memory of this time. So first thing it tells me that these fairs did generate a tremendous, or maybe it was almost like an electricity. It was like, it wasn't just excitement. It was like there was an electrical charge going through me. And so it's indicating that these fairs to me must have had a very unique electrical component to them as well. There must have been an energetic, for sure, an energetic component, not just what you're seeing with the buildings and everything else. And you could feel that even somewhere at the Norway building, which was far away from the main structures, which was definitely a built building. You know, it was one of the. There's definitely. I never said all the buildings at any of these World's Fairs would have been original buildings. They built a lot of them, like a lot of them. You know, Chicago World's Fair, what, like 800 or 900 buildings? There wasn't 900 buildings there when they started. You know, there might have been 10. They did build a lot. And this Norway building is very clearly built in the 1890s and shipped over. That's guaranteed. But there was definitely some sort of excitement, some sort of energy that was being created. I think it wasn't just from the people themselves. There was something to do with the site, the energy, the whatever, the buildings. They were creating their own electricity. So I felt that. I felt this like electrical charge, first thing. The next thing I noticed was the feeling of just tremendous movement in front of me. Like there was just like the feeling like hundreds or thousands of people are just walking, because I was standing right by the front door, were walking by me. And that kind of would have made sense, because like I say, it was situated right by the lake as you would come off the long walkway from the manufacturer's building, and in fact the whole Court of Honor area. The one way of moving to this thing would have been down the lake. You could have gone the other direction and gone up and kind of gone past the electrical building and et cetera, and gone and sort of more towards the midway. But this would have taken a tremendous amount of traffic, and that was partially what I got. I got this sense of a lot of traffic. But for various circumstances, and it was cold. The day we went, it was cold, and it was still kind of snowy. And even though the sun was out, it wasn't like today. And so I'm going to wait now until it gets cool, or until it gets nice and warm and the snow is gone. And I'm going to go back and spend like 4 or 5 hours at this building, and just sit there and see if by sitting there for 4 or 5 hours I can maybe tap into something specific from the Chicago Exposition, because you know while there are some trinkets in the exposition available, right? There's some tickets, and there's some souvenirs, and there's a few other things. Again, there's only 3 buildings. There's only 3 things that were actually physically in that spot that are still left in the world. And this happens to be one of them, and it's about a 25-minute drive from my farm. And I think that's really interesting. And I'm going to spend more time looking into what this building might be able to teach me about the fairs. But that's not the only thing I wanted to talk to you today about this. I wanted to also talk to you that I'm not going to be making too many more videos, actually, for a while. A few reasons. One is that I'm finding that I happen to be looking at screens again a bit this week, more than I'm used to looking at them, from putting out videos and getting things ready for sites. And it's just that time of the year for me to pay up things that have to be paid for my website and whatever. So I'm looking at screens a little bit more, and my tinnitus has started to try to come back. Haven't had it for a long time, and it's trying to kick its way back in, which guaranteed is from looking at screens. So in one sense, I want to go back to really cutting down my screen time to minimum. The second is, now that we're going to be ending with the reading of Falling for Truth is going to be the last chapter is coming up in a couple of days here. I've already read it, and I'll put it up after this video, a day or two after this video is out. And then Falling for Truth is complete, and now we're at this new phase of like, well, now what? And I kind of don't want to just keep presenting historical videos. Now, I don't mind if it's something like this. If there's something really interesting historically that I go to personally, that I touch and I feel and I smell, and I share with you my direct personal experience of having gone there, I think those are okay. But to keep studying history now, to me, actually makes no sense. By that I mean, once you get to a point where you realize that all history is a lie, you don't really need to keep studying it. It's like, you've just realized the whole thing is a lie. So why do you need to keep studying history then? It's a lie. No matter what you study, it's just going to be a lie, and you're not going to find the truth. It's not like I can sit there and study and find out how they built ancient Rome, or what the Domus Aurea was, or how they built and moved an obelisk, or what happened at the Battle of Hastings, or or the Cathars or anything else. You can't really get the truth. What you can do, though, is churn through a massive amount of false. Or I guess you could get the truth on them, but you'll have to reach a point of ultimate truth, right? You'd have to reach the point of truth on everything. And then if that's part of the package you require, you would get the truth on those events too. Of course, you get the truth on everything, but you can't just get the truth on a few simple things in this case. It'd be an all or nothing deal. You either get it all or you're still waiting. So from that sense, there is so much material now, so much good research that indicates history's a lie. It's just a lie. And more research now is just wasting time. I'm just being very clear. It's wasting time. And I know there's a whole lot of channels that are going to keep doing it, and great. By all means, if that's important to you, keep looking at it. Go right ahead. I'm not going to do that anymore because I don't think there's time to waste. I think we're at the point again, like I've mentioned in the last few spiritual warfare type videos, we're running out of time. If you want to be a human and you don't want to be a zombie robot that's going to get plugged into the matrix for a long, long, long time, your time here might be very limited. And if your time is limited, you've got to use it to the absolute maximum best you can. Every second of time has to be well spent.